What's going on, Fire Nation? It's your boy Rico, along with my little big cousin G-Baby and our boy Raul, the Zookeeper. And we are the Friendly Fire Podcast, the hottest podcast on either side of the Mississippi. Episode 73, baby.
Damn.
Yes, sir.
73 and 9. Shout out to
yes,
Boris.
Shout out. Don't mean a thing if you ain't got that rain, though. How y'all feeling today, fellas? Wellness check.
I'm doing good. A little tired, and I got class later on to like.
That boy getting his education back on. Yes, sir.
Minor payer.
Zoo, talk to me. How you feeling, bro?
Good. Just got home from work.
Yeah. Real quick, before we get into the question of the day, I sent the guys a video in the group chat about how aggressive O'Hare workers are. And Zoo, can you just speak on your experience as a co-worker of the TSA O'Hare individuals?
Yeah, they wake up on the side of violence. So there's two sides of the spectrum. Either they're yelling at you at 4 a.m., 4:30. They open at 4:15 a.m. But as soon as they start letting people, they're already yelling. Or you get the really chill workers, where there's workers, because I've worked on really busy days, like during the Christmas time and stuff, Thanksgiving. They'll have like one of us go in the TSA line and direct people to which TSA person is open, because the TSA agent that scans your boarding pass and your passport before you even get to like the actual screening line, they won't call you up. If you don't walk up to them, they don't care. Like some of them, I've seen them work, and this is like not me exaggerating. They'll work like, when you used to read a book at school and you'll lay down with like your head, they'll work like that. They'll be like with their head laying down on the actual desk. They'll tell you, they'll be like scanning, and like they'll get mad if you don't know how to scan the boarding pass, and because like if you make, God forbid, you make them raise their head to actually do anything, and then when you
got me doing my job,
you made me come into work today.
They'll just read it while they're laying down. They'll look at you,
and look at you, and look at you, and look at you, and then they'll give it back. And then there's a specific way you have to pass that portion. You have to walk on the left hand side of them. But a lot of people don't know, because there's two sides that are open that you can walk through. But if you walk through the wrong side, they'll yell at you and they'll make you go back and they'll redo it again. So that's why they have us there on busy days, to redirect people and tell them like what to do. Because the TSA agent won't tell you what to do until it's time to yell, and then they'll yell at you.
You know how uncomfortable these latex gloves are. You need to lock it in. Do what you need to do.
They got one value, megaphone.
I told my youngest sister to apply, because she has an attitude and whatnot. And right now she's like,
that's a qualification.
Hey, you need to just be mean. You got to square up with the hiring manager to see if you can even take the job.
They gonna yell at you in the interview.
Who you think you're talking to? You're hired. I like him.
It just depends, But yeah, they'll yell at you and cuss at you and whatnot.
But like you said,
like everybody gets nervous. Like I think I told you guys, I probably said this on the podcast, but like our supervisor said, it doesn't matter if you never graduated high school, you're in elementary, or if you're a rocket scientist or a neurosurgeon. Everyone, as soon as they get into the airport, they forget how to punch. Like I've had like the richest people, like the PhD, because they'll say on the reservation PhD or doctor or whatever, and they don't know like how to operate once they're in there. They're like, I don't know how to work this kiosk. I don't know how to tag the back tag. And it's like, bro, it's like literally just says peel here and stick it on there.
Yeah.
But everybody gets nervous, especially through TSA. Everyone gets nervous.
I think honestly, your brain kind of goes out the window a little bit, because a lot. You don't want it's like the slightest thing. Oh, what if I end up missing my flight? Knowing you got there 4 hours early to make sure you didn't, but it's just like no, this isn't enough. If I tag this wrong, they're gonna make me go all the way back. And mind you, ain't nobody here, like you said, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. But so Mugs be panicking. Mugs, and I consider myself a very competent person, but sometimes I get to that kiosk, I'm like, dang, what is my last name?
It's like when you get to sweating at the damn cash register and people behind you, and you be like, shit. You're like, man, this card, man, it's got $3,000 on it, but I don't know if it's going to approve right now.
They said debit or credit. I don't know. What do you think I should do?
What's the answer?
It's just simple things, man. You're done folding under pressure, no matter if you're a veteran of the airport experience or not.
Like I don't know what to do. Like I've had people where like, okay, like they missed their flight, but we could connect them to like a different city, or they could go tomorrow, or they could take a connection flight. And they'll ask you like, I don't know, what do you think I should do? And I'm like, it's your money, it's your $1,000. Like I'm not gonna tell you to go to a different
I would
city. Like what do you mean? Like do you know someone in that other city? Do you have a way to get a ride there? Is someone gonna pick you up? And they're like, it's because I don't know. Like what should I do? Like and they'll be like, you pick. And it's like, no, I can't pick, because if it's the wrong thing and you get no matter, it's under my name. Like it's your money, so you pick.
Yeah, your decision. But yeah, this should be a fairly lighthearted episode. My internet tweaking a little bit, so if I drop out again, I'll just be right back. But let me get this question out of the day out the way. What are your societal pet peeves? Whether it's something you see a lot on social media, whether it's something you seeing a lot on TV, something displayed in the news. What is something like that makes you feel like an old man? You like, I hate this, or I feel like what is y'all thing?
Like makes you feel old?
Not even necessarily old, but just something you just when you see it, you know how like old folks just have the most random pet peeves.
Yeah.
So like that, like what is your just like random societal pet peeve?
Children running around and enjoying life.
Kids being kids is your pet peeve.
Yeah, that's when you know you're starting to get old, when you're like, yo, why is this kid running around and his mom hasn't yelled at him yet? Like,
the not yelling at you yet, that gets me too, because I'm looking at them like my parents would have had me snatched up before I got past the bathroom, and you all the way upstairs. Where are the parents?
I think like when people are in front of me in a line and you ask like a question, or you're just taking too long, like it's like, man, come on, you've been here before. Like, come on, you know what you're doing. It's like, get the hell out of the way. Or like self-checkout when you be like, oh, I need help. Like, damn, what you need help with? Like, it's a scan. Damn. Like,
yeah. It's like, bro, like
it's this simple. And I'm not a genius or rocket science, but it's a scan here, place in the bagging area. Like, what are you doing? Place it in the bagging area.
Do what you're supposed to do.
Like, what are you asking questions for at the bank? Like, do you got money or no? Like, basically boils down to, I need to deposit this $20.
Make life simple, bro.
Yeah.
I think mine is like the concept of role models nowadays. I'm like, that bothers me to a large extent, because I actually saw, what was it, a tweet? I think it was
the Wale thing.
No, not even the Wale thing. I saw a tweet, and it's always recurring. They were talking about how I think they mentioned Dirk. I want to say they mentioned some trap rapper. They were saying you don't want your sons growing up listening to Dirk and so and so, but you look to people like Cardi B and Nicki Minaj who promote being a prostitute to be role models or something stupid like that. And my whole point of view is this, bro. Stop looking at niggas to raise y'all kids. I'm like the concept of role model bothers me to a certain extent, because I feel like it's a cop-out. Now, I do understand, as obviously somebody who grew up in a household, once you get older, you spend more and more time away from home. So there are outside sources that influence who you become. I mean, even like I remember this girl distinctly. She had like the thickest accent. I think she was Puerto Rican. She had like the thickest accent when we were kids. As we got older in high school, it just started dissipating more and more and more to where it's not even the same person. And what gets me with the whole thing with role models personally is that, like I said, not only do I feel like it's a cop-out, but these individuals didn't ask to be role models. Like, everybody knows the famous Charles Barkley commercial. Bro, my job is to hoop. My job is to rap. My job is to act. My job is to do something else. It's not my job to raise your kids. I think, like, personally, I'll put myself in it. I think I would be a pretty decent role model if I get to a certain stature. I think I can set a decent example. But if I'm having a bad day, and for whatever reason, I just go off on somebody, and that's what gets recorded. Oh, this is who you use to raise your kids. No, I'm not here to raise nobody kids, but my own future kids. Like, don't look to me to be the godsend. You feel me?
It's like a role model you shouldn't try to be that person.
Yes.
Like, the role model should be like just say our pops. You look up to your pop. Like, they're not perfect.
No.
And you wouldn't want to walk in your pop's shoes. You wouldn't want to grow up dealing with what he got to do. But it's a good base.
Yes.
Like if at worst I can be my pops, then I'm cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to be worse than my pops. If I can be that, then okay, then he's a good role model.
Mm-hmm.
Me, it's like, what can Charles Barkley, like what? I'm not 6'4". I can't play basketball. Like, what am I looking up to this man for? Outside of like, oh, I like him as a player, or even to bring it to more closer, like you mentioned, music, like Tupac. Like you can idolize, you're not supposed to idolize anybody, but there's no way I would want to do follow Tupac's exact. There's absolutely no way. It's so it's just like, in the aspect of when you have a bad day, it shouldn't be taken as, oh, this person's like, they shouldn't be raising your kids. Of course they shouldn't be raising your kids because they didn't have your kids. And I live.
You should be raising your kids.
Right. But it's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. It's up to the role model to be like, hey, Tupac was out here wilding. Mm-hmm. That's not what you need to be doing. You see that, like showing you examples of what not to do. You shouldn't just be like, oh, follow what Tupac doing. That's not parenting.
Let's not do that.
Because you can be like, my role model is this, but you can, like, my brother was my role model for a long time. And then it's like, I grew up and it's like, at base, if I'm better or worse than that, that's cool. But then at one point I have to like follow my own path. Mm-hmm. Like I can't follow his life down to the T because he was idolizing people that I probably wasn't. And you know, vice versa. You have to at some point do your own thing, but in the aspect of raising kids, you should be doing that, not letting the TV and music raise your kids.
These iPad babies are something else, bro.
They are. They're gonna be smart as hell.
They're gonna be smart, but they don't have any interpersonal ability. Like even my youngest siblings, like they're grown, and I get on my youngest brother a lot. Like, bro, there's certain ways you can't talk to people because you need to understand. Now, mind you, I'm only 4 years older than him, but I feel like it's a gap. And it's a lot of things that changed between our time period. Like it was just certain ways that, you know, I didn't have all the time a PS2, PS whatever to play on. It was get out and talk to people, get out and play and all that. So you learn how to talk to different people. And me and Craig got on him one day, was like, bro, you got to watch how you talk to people because you may not think you're saying it in this certain way, but this is how it's going to come off. And not saying that, oh, my dad failed in raising him, but my brother spent a lot of time either on the game with his homies. They all raised the same way. So it's just kind of like, this is what you're around. And Zoo, I'm like, what you want, but I don't want to drown you out. What you think?
Oh, no, go ahead. I mean, same, like what you're saying, like the social skills do lack. And because I have my little cousins and they're 16, 15, and the other one just turned 13 in October. So they're all teenagers now. But like sometimes I have conversations with them and I'm trying to, because I can speak, I speak Spanish and English. They can't really speak, like hold a conversation in Spanish. So I'll talk to them in English, whatever. But they can't even hold a conversation in English either. It's like, and sometimes it's like, is it me? Am I just boring because I'm older? But no, I hear them talk to their friends too. And it's like very, like a couple sentences. It's like comments, like TikTok comments or Twitter comments. They don't go on
they talking memes.
Conversations right now. Yeah, they talking memes. They talking, W-Riz, all these like shenanigans or like punchlines. It's just a bunch of punchlines and comments.
That's a good way to describe it. That's a great way to, because you even said it yourself. The attention span is like half a second now. When I was joking about the Bank of America thing, you was like, oh, that happened this morning. I'm like, well, it just happened. He was like, no, attention span is 2 hours at the most. And other than that, that should be in a social studies book at that point. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, that, because for example, like basketball is usually where my heart is at. So I always think about basketball in terms of like when people want to discuss role models. So like LeBron James, for all intents and purposes, is usually like the pinnacle of like a role model within basketball or whatnot, because he doesn't have any major scandals. He loves his wife, loves his kids. He plays great basketball. And then he just kind of minds his business. He goes and makes money. But if something was to come, like, so say I'm a young kid coming up and this is the guy I'm watching on the basketball court. I want to model my game after LeBron. I'm 6'7" as a freshman in high school. I want to model my game after LeBron. Say for whatever reason, a scandal does come out down the line. Well, that shouldn't all of a sudden turn away from what I'm looking for him to do on the basketball court. I may say, okay, I don't want to take his relationship advice, but the nigga is probably the smartest person to ever touch a basketball. So if he's saying, oh, well, here's how I did X, Y, and Z, I'm not about to let whatever happened in the bedroom affect what's happening on the basketball court, because this is the person to look to for that specific thing. There are people you should look to if you really are searching for a role model. Like Charles Barkley said, your teachers, firefighters, most doctors or nurses. Like these are are usually good people who have signed up to guide and lead and such and such. Why are you looking at this guy who came from the hood, who came from all of these bad backgrounds, who's just super athletic, to all of a sudden be the leader of the new school, the leader of the church? No, raise your kids.
Another thing too is the background aspect. It's like, how do you want to be a role model should be somebody that's either in or then made it out of similar circumstances than you. Like you can't look at like a kid born into a rich family that ends up owning businesses and be like, man, that's gonna be my role model, because it's like y'all didn't have the same upbringing, y'all don't have the same struggle, same fight. It's like different, and it's weird because kids in the hood, that's all they have to do is look up to Dirk and the young boys, because it's like they're in my lifestyle. And it's not too many people being doctors and lawyers and nurses and stuff from this. It's like that's the pinnacle of success. So it's like you understand that, but it's a toxic mentality because it's not escaping the situation. It's just prolonging what it actually is. Because
speak on that. Expand on that. I like that. Expand on that.
Because it's like, all right, just say you got a guy, grew up in the projects, barely makes it through school, works his ass off, this, that, and he becomes a top surgeon. Like a kid in there is going to be like, if he did it, it's possible for me to do it. But then you look at like the same kid in a situation looking up to like a Lil Durk or King Von, and it's like, what is the end goal of this? It's like, I forget who said it. 50 Cent said it, actually. Shout out 50. In an interview when he was rapping, they was like, when he first started rapping, he was like, the goal to become a major rapper was to drop a debut album, die, and then drop a double album. He was like, that's how you had, and I mean, look at who did it. Pac, Biggie, you know. So that was their role models rapping. So it's like for Dirk and Von and them, like Von's a legend, but look how that story ends. And so you're just prolonging it, you know. Oh man, they're getting the chain, rapping, doing this and all this, that, and the other. Like that lifestyle comes to an end at some point.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's not in the beach in Malibu and it's not in Europe. You know, that's not what it is. It's not like the doctor where it's like, oh, settle down with the American wife and this, that, and the other. It's like you're following this, you're prolonging
the inevitable.
The inevitable, essentially. Like there's no escape from that. The streets always win.
And you know, funny enough, I was watching a recent G Herbo video. He came back to Chicago and he did a radio interview, and he kind of spoke on that, like how his upbringing, like obviously it affects his art, it affects what he talks about, but he still goes out of his way to find ways to give back. But then at the same time, he tells these kids from the same type of areas he grew up in, find somebody to talk to. Find somebody to be able to open up to, because obviously, you know, in certain environments, you got to keep that in or they're going to take advantage of it. So he like is trying to get them out of that mindset early, because he understands that even if he didn't ask for this role, people do look to him as a role model. Right. But at the same time, anything that may happen with him in the news or whatnot, this, that, and the third, this is why it's still important to have somebody in your corner in general, whether it's a parent or a guardian, whatever, because at the end of the day, Herb is still human. Dirk is still human. If they get into some shenanigans outside of music or whatever, that can't be, oh, well, I guess this is the path I got to go to. No, these are humans making human mistakes or human decisions that are leading to consequences. And I think, like you were saying, with people idolizing Vine or whoever else, like people don't, I feel like a lot of these kids don't fully grasp the consequences have actions. I mean, the actions have consequences. Like you put your hand on the stove, you might get burnt. Like you might not want to do that. And I feel like there's not enough of that getting highlighted or like taught as much. And I think that's got a lot to do with the lack of role models. A lot of, you got parents working multiple jobs. You got parents doing what they got to do. Sit down in front of the TV. I'll call you when dinner is ready. So this is all they're seeing 24/7. And they go with their friends who are having the same thing at their home. So you got kids raising kids because we all watching the same thing. We all on our iPads, like Zeus said, meme culture. We all speaking in punchlines. It's sad to see because it's like you want to be able to hold a conversation with your 16-year-old cousin that doesn't feel like such a gap in generations and such a gap in cultures. But at the same time, you understand, like, I can't raise your kids. Even as a celebrity, these celebrities understand that they can't raise your kids. If I don't go out with the purpose of saying my goal is to be a role model to these young kids, then you can hold me accountable for what I do, in my opinion. If I come out and say, so like there was the after the music stops, when Bizarre gets on there, it was like, we have a responsibility to these kids. Psych, because they don't. It's like we don't. Like we there's no, I come here to rap. I talk about the most weirdest stuff in the world, and I make money doing that. That shouldn't be who your 12-year-old is looking up to. And when people tried to blame Eminem for the shootings that was happening in the early 2000s, Columbine and all of that type of stuff, or they tried to I think it was a YouTuber called PewDiePie. I think that was who the Charleston shooter or whatever had like watched or something crazy like that. It's like you still can't blame these guys. They're not going out doing it. They're not going out on some Charles Manson stuff saying, all right, you should go out and do this. Then, okay, yeah, hold them niggas accountable. But other than that, these are people who didn't have proper role models themselves, who are just looking for something. And this is the avenue they decided to take. So it sometimes it's sad, but other times when I hear parents complaining about it or people tweeting about it, now I get mad because like now it's laziness. Now you had these babies, you don't want to teach them. You don't want to deal with them. There's too many people trying to be best friends with their kids instead of being a parent. So when, like you said, when a Cardi B, a picture or something gets leaked or she's doing a provocative video, oh, well, you got my daughter watching. Why is your daughter watching?
Right.
You feel me? Cardi B ain't never said, yeah, 5-year-olds should watch my videos. She's never said that. So why are we blaming her?
And even now
go ahead.
It's easier. So I guess some people are like, oh, it's hard to monitor. No, because like everything, you can set child locks on everything, whether it's TV, your subscriptions, on Netflix, it always tells you like, do you want to enable your kids lock? Same thing for Disney Plus, any games, literally on your phone, you could monitor what your kid's watching. All you have to do is when you get the phone, you let the service carrier know, hey, this is a kid. Can I put like the locks in place or whatever? So it's easier to monitor, I guess, what they're watching or doing without them knowing, like, as long as you don't give them the password. But for whatever reason, it still goes around. Because like back in, I guess, the day would be saying now, it'd be easier to get around because there weren't any of those locks. And if they did, at least in my household, like my parents weren't tech savvy or anything. But now, like the parents that are parents now, we grew up in technology. So we should be able to know how to monitor all these things. Maybe our parents didn't, but now we should. But for whatever reason, still not happening. Like the other day, like I just said, we had like my pet peeve was like kids running around their parents not saying anything. Like literally, I saw it at my job. The mom had her kids on a leash, like the dog leash, and the kids were still running around, and they got tied because it was twins. They tied themselves in the leash, like, because they were running around, and the mom didn't yell at them once. I don't know if it's because they don't want to, because everything gets taken as like abuse or anything. But like me and all our coworkers, we were like, our mom would have taken us to the bathroom at least. We would have been like, hey, he wants to go to the bathroom, and then we would have came out with tears in our eyes, but quiet and walking single file line. you know. And I'm not saying you should, like abuse your kids, but I'm sure a stern talking to and maybe a slight pat.
Abuse and discipline needs to be justified. Like, I mean, because there's a lot where you can hit a kid and it's not abuse. Like sometimes a motherfucker just need like a reality check, you get to back talking. The thing is, parents don't instill that fear no more. It's like my dad, for example, like he never hit us. My mom was the damn assassin. But if he hit us the way he yelled at us, we would die. Because it was just so much fear. Like this guy is gonna absolutely demolish us for doing anything bad, but he would never do it. Like I always feared that. My mom, I already knew I was just gonna have to prepare for this ass whooping. It was just physical. But when your parents like the mental, there's no discipline in anything. You just whatever, go to your grandma, go to this, that. Like you have to discipline. I'm not saying you gotta beat your kid half to death, but there has to be some sort of like repercussion for these actions.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had the kid the other day, I don't mean to turn it grim, but the 12-year-old killed his mom because he couldn't play with the game. Like, come on, like what is this? Like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should not feel that comfortable doing that to this person. It's a lack of discipline. Nobody's teaching these kids. Like you said, they're babies raising babies.
Mm-hmm. I remember like when you just said that, I remember like when our mom, we were still young enough to get whoopings and whatnot. If you even raised your hand to block a hit, it was like, yo, like you're blocking.
It's Mortal
this
Kombat
like,
at this point.
It's like I might as well have chokeslammed my mom. It was the equivalent of blocking and chokeslamming through a table or something. Like it went way out of proportion. But now, like you said, now people are comfortable talking back to their parents. And it's not just because like before the joke was like, oh, white kids talk back to their parents. But like now, at least what I'm seeing like on social medias and whatnot, because I don't really grow up around kids to my little cousins. But now, like TikToks and stuff, you get all kids of all races talking back to their parents
and hitting their parents, fighting their parents, doing all that.
When that happened,
yeah, it's different now. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but yeah,
it's got to be something. It's got to be the music because it's all. It's got to be because it's all violence and
band hip hop.
I blame television.
But it is. It's just because it's like everything you see or hear is pushing an agenda nowadays. It was like back then cartoons would hide the sneaky stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you never say. Now they're just like out in the open, blatant with it. It's just, I can't justify because back then we were watching and listening. I saw Scarface probably 17 times when I was 6. So I was like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we are just being the old heads at this point.
Maybe. I'm gonna try to figure out my camera situation, but I want to move on to another topic that has been spiraling the TikTok universe. Mindy Kaling, from Office fame, she had her own show, comedic writer and producer, director, all of that good stuff. She has come under fire from the Indian community, essentially because she just released a show on HBO Max, Velma, where she's starring as Velma, like from Scooby-Doo fame. And she continues with her trend of essentially making fun of Indian culture and who Indians are and whatnot. And India is tired of it. They are sick and tired of her acting up. And I wanted to talk on that, but then I also want to kind of further dive into discussions about minority writers feeling that they got to make fun of their culture to like an extreme extent to get put on TV. We've seen it before. And sometimes it's done tastefully. And then sometimes it's just like, all right, bro, do you even like being insert minority here? So I wanted to get you guys' opinion on the overarching thing. I'll give a little bit more, few more details on the whole Velma show. I haven't watched it. But essentially what ended up happening was that people saw some trailers of it. And so she's starring as Velma. She made Shaggy black, but Shaggy is not named Shaggy. There is no Scooby-Doo dog there's a black woman who goes by Scooby, who's falling in love with Black Shaggy, apparently. It's adult, it's adult. They have there's like more adult themes. They're showing murder and all of that type of stuff. And people are saying like, bro, this is not a good show. But what happened was that so many people hate watched it for the sake of having something to talk about, that the viewings went crazy. So now it's getting a second season for sure. And so people are kind of like at a point where, like I said, a lot of Indians are tired of Mindy Kaling, because they say essentially since she got her own show, everything was basically kind of targeted at her own culture. It's like one of the first lines of her old show was about basically she like stereotyped an Indian woman like to a T, like every single thing. Why would I want to talk with her? Essentially, this is Mindy Kaling saying this. You can't deny that she's Indian. Like you look at her, you see it. So people are like, why are you so comfortable like doing this to your own culture? You have the money, you have the fame, you got all of this. Why do you need to continue to like basically attack yourself? And I wanted to get y'all opinion on like minority writers doing that in general. And Zoo, we'll start with you, because I don't know how frequently it happens. And I don't know if y'all feel like George Lopez. I know a lot of Hispanics love George Lopez, but I don't know if that y'all feel like he sometimes toes the line, or if it's just funny enough. Like what is y'all ideas behind it?
No, I think we all love George Lopez.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Like George Lopez, Enrique Iglesias. He has that show. I watched only the first season. I haven't watched the seasons of the Mr. Iglesias show.
That's a good
show.
He knows
Latino base.
That's a good show.
And there's like other shows like that where like there are, I guess, quote unquote Mexican stereotypes. I guess George Lopez is the one who pushes it the most, because he does like almost every other joke is like Mexican related or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, at least I haven't seen that people don't like him because of that. I don't know if it's because, Mexican culture is more like we all like make fun of each other since we're kids, since like our parents make fun of us, our grandparents, everyone. I think a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month now, when I messaged you guys the Hispanic name thing.
Yeah.
Like make sure your kid's name like is translatable, because we'll just make up a random nickname for you, even if you don't like it. And it's like one of those things where I guess people don't get offended. I sent you the other day, I think it was yesterday, the whole Latinx thing, where everybody, like every Latino hates it. We're like Latina. Even like the LGBTQ community is like, no, we're Latino. Just like let it be. Like we honestly don't care. So I don't know if it's because of that, like the way we're all raised, like just making fun of each other to the point where I'm not gonna say nothing offends us, because I'm sure there's plenty of things that offend people. There's things that offend people everywhere. But like not to an extent. Like Fez, he was Latino, and he got made fun of for being, a foreign exchange student, his accent. He got made fun of for living in a third world country and everything. Right. But you didn't see like people making like bulletins and petitions to get him removed from TV and whatnot. Like, sure, that was in the 90s, so maybe it was a little different time. But still, like, he just came back. I haven't watched the show yet, but still, everyone was excited. Like, oh, Fez better be there. And he's a hairdresser now, at least from the trailer that I saw. So he's like another Latino stereotype, like a gay, like, well, I don't, he's not gay, but he's like, towing the line, I guess, where he's a hairdresser. And I've never seen people like get mad at that either. There's a couple, like the machete guy. He's always stereotypical. Danny Trejo, yeah, his name.
Yeah.
He's always stereotypical. He plays the same role every time, but no one's ever been offended at that. You have the Hectors. Every movie, good movie has a Hector.
Bro,
it's the same dude. And no one's ever been like, "Yo, get him out of here." We were building statues of these. We're like, "Yes, the guy." And so I've just never seen personally like that people get really offended of anything like that. At least not in Latino culture, as far as I could tell.
Okay,
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you said, it's always somebody. But like even when you talked about the whole Latinx thing, if the alphabet people are saying y'all doing too much, then it's like, all right, y'all need to calm down. Y'all doing too much, clearly. G baby, what do you think about the whole thing? Because we've seen it in Black culture.
I mean, everybody's gonna joke on your own race. That's kind of like just a gimmick. you know. But like prime example was like George Lopez is because of the setting. Like he wasn't like a Mexican. He was a Mexican in that show, not a Mexican stereotype. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it was portraying a Mexican family. It wasn't like he was, hey, oh, where's cervezas and tamales? It wasn't like that. It was like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, this is what a Mexican dude is. Yeah. This is how he's talking to his friend. He goes to work. And of course, he's not going to be like, oh, yeah, pass the caviar and shit. No, he's a Mexican dude. It was a portrayal of a Mexican. It never came off as disrespectful. He wasn't like, oh, I hate Mexicans and blah, blah, this, that. No, it was just, I'm a Mexican dude living life. That's all it was. And when it goes a little too far, like when just say that show is set in like a super hospital environment area, and he's the Mexican doctor that's like, hey, Holmes, he didn't have too many cervezas. You know, when it's that, then it's like, all right, come on now. Like, yeah, it's a Mexican doctor and he's doing too much. Like just sort of say it was a black dude. And he's just like, yo, cuz, what's this? And you know what I mean? You finna die, homie, and shit like that.
Scapula, cuz.
Like, that's not how a doctor would talk.
Yeah.
It's different if that show is this inner city hoodlum got mistaken for a doctor, and now he's too far in to then you can understand it. Yeah. But if this dude is George Lopez, accredited MD with a PhD and master, I'm pretty sure he knows how to talk to his patients. You see what I'm saying? Like like even my wife and kids, it was like, he was just a black dude.
He was just a black dude in Connecticut.
It wasn't no, damn, he's super black, he's super this. It was just a black dude. He had a job, he had kids, and that's all it was. He talked shit about his family, the same thing George Lopez did. And that's why it's so highly appreciated. It's when you get to the blackishes, and it's like,
that was gonna be next. That was gonna be next.
You see what I'm saying? Twin telepathy in effect.
We out here.
It's like, oh man, yeah, I'm black and I'm famous, so I'm gonna get all the Jordans. And oh, we don't eat chicken that's not unseasoned and da 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 da. It's like you're pushing this black agenda too much. Instead of just being a rich black dude, you're like a rich black dude that gotta have all the Jordans, gotta have all the rap CDs and all the references and bring up this and bring up that. That's when it becomes the stereotype.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things as well is, I think what my wife and kids did really well, with a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air did really well, even Martin to a certain extent, is that the show in and of itself was just about, this is a middle-class working father with a loving wife, some kids, dealing with day-to-day stuff. My son ain't doing the best in school. The other one got a little boyfriend at 5 years old. The other one, she a little slow. But that was kind of just like a everyday father thing. It, like you said, it wasn't, oh, I'm a black dad. It's, I'm a dad who happens to be black. And that's what I like about that's the type of minority right now. Like, now I also like the Wayans brothers, which was obviously in the 90s, so it's a little bit different. So yeah, they talking about roaches and dead and EBT cars and all that. That's funny. That's funny.
But it was like, look at the context.
When you understand what it is, you understand that, yeah, you got one brother sleeping on the couch dealing with bed bugs and stuff. That makes sense in its own realm. But when you are writing just a show, like, and I wanted to like get into the ish cinematic universe just to see like how big it is, because one thing I don't want with any minority, but obviously I can speak for black cinema, is I don't want every episode either being stereotype heavy or being a lesson. You feel me? Balance it out. Don't everything, I feel like every episode don't gotta be the father having to talk with his son. You are a black man in America, so you need to understand what that means. He, every now and then, maybe once every 7 episodes, I get it, because you know, kids, we they don't be knowing stuff, they be forgetting. But like if every episode is just, yeah, this is what it's like back when my grandfather worked on the plantations, it's like, no, we don't need that. You feel me? Like that's not necessary. But on the flip side, if it's more on the comedic effect, don't everything gotta be like watermelon and Kool-Aid. Like it's cool if that's in it. I don't care if that's in it, because that's a black experience. But don't let that be the punchline. Let it just be what's happening. we having a conversation about the weather. I'm just so happy to be eating watermelon for whatever reason. Like
Right.
it's just it is instead of it being the focus. When it's the focus, I think that's where it loses me with most minority cinema, because it's like just let it be what it is.
Right.
That's kind of where my head is at with that.
Why do you think that is though? Because like you were saying in the '90s or the early 2000s, like My Wife and Kids, the
Bernie Mac show,
that was
Fresh
another
Prince, or even like Family Matters. It's the middle class family living on the south side of Chicago. There weren't really any episodes like saying like, oh, this happens because we're black. Because like even the gun violence one was like, it's just gun violence in Chicago, but it didn't specify it's just black people. And same thing. The only one was when that sergeant was a little like racist, the cop.
Yeah,
like
to Eddie. Yeah.
To Eddie. But that's literally like the only episode that really dealt with like racism. Do you think that's because I'm not sure if the writers were, like I have to look it up, but I'm sure there were more white writers on that staff than maybe there is now? Or do you think it's because the white writers that are now making shows or like co-producing the shows, or like, because at the end of the day they're the ones who have the voice, like they have the say so and what to say. Do you think they're trying to overcompensate, like being overly kind of woke, I guess, nowadays? Or is it the black creators who are pushing it, or is it just like a mixture of both?
I think it's a mixture of both, simply because like with Damon Wayans and Bernie Mac, they're obviously mostly in charge. Damon Wayans got a lot of his family in as writers and producers and whatnot for My Wife and Kids. So I'm sure he went into it like, okay, I know the black sitcoms of the 90s. I was there. Like my little brothers did it. I've seen all of this. I've seen this firsthand. And it's like, no, let me just be a dad who happens to be black. So when you write, you can just write about daily shenanigans that happen in a middle class family. It doesn't have to be, oh, what was me? Because to my knowledge, I don't think My Wife and Kids ever had, like, they had heavy episodes. I don't think they ever had like a race heavy episode. Like you said, Family Matters had, I think, 2. They had one when Laura was trying to get like some black initiative started at her school, and then the issue with Eddie getting pulled over by the cop. And it's just kind of like, besides that, here's your daily hijinks of the week. And I do think now, because of woke culture or whatnot, but also because I think there are black writers who feel that if they don't write about this type of stuff, their show won't get put on the air or it'll get canceled early, type of deal. You have these black and brown writers who understand they're the minority in this field. So if I'm writing something, it either has to be woke or it's got to be funny as all get out. And if I go with the woke angle and you cancel it, now it's, oh, you don't want my message getting out.
Right.
So,
but then you could be too awake too.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I don't want, because I've thought about getting into like script writing, maybe taking a class or something. But like one of the things that I don't think I would ever want to do, like with my show, like if I was to write a show, I feel like it needs to be so good to where my race doesn't matter. If I like My Wife and Kids, if it was just somebody casted Damon Wayans for this role, you wouldn't know it was written by black people. I feel like within the context of My Wife and Kids, you could just look at the script and be like, oh, this is just a great show.
You know what? You brought that up. My Wife and Kids, and what's the other one? Married with Children. They're the exact same show, just white and black. You could switch them, and it would be the exact same thing. Married with Children, you had the dad that talked shit about his family and talked shit about his wife. They went to work, was a hardworking guy. Oh, I was an athlete in high school that didn't pan, had his little shit. And if you put Damon Wayans in that same show and Al Bundy in the other one, it's the same show. It's still a great show. And that didn't matter. Like if he had, if he was black with a white family, then that's just more jokes. Because as long as you can see that he's the father.
Yeah.
Like when his son and kids acknowledge him as a father, as their father, then you can have the show. It just seems like when you write a sitcom, you focus, it's a situation comedy, but you focus too much on racial situations and forget the comedy aspect of it. like the deep episodes of the Fresh Prince, like when they got pulled over and went to jail. Like, it was a deep episode, but that episode was hilarious.
There was a lot of funny stuff in that show.
They was
in the
in
episode
the cell
for real.
with that dude, and he was singing all them
One
songs.
is the loneliest number of all.
You see what I'm like? It was 21 minutes, and you might have had 4 to 5 minutes that was like, all right, we gonna buckle down and get serious. Like, I'm Uncle Phil, black or white, I'm a judge. You know what I'm saying?
You gonna respect me, yeah.
Right. And then you had the part at the end when Carlton and Will had their little, no, they pulled us over because it was the black brothers in the Benz and blah, blah, blah. You had that. But the whole episode was jokes.
Yeah.
You know, even the episode where Will got shot, and he flipped the table. He was, I want to eat that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was jokes. And you just, when you focus too much on it, then it takes away from the show, because it's like, oh, here they go with this black agenda. Here they go with this. And oh, we was slaves. We get it.
Yeah.
Today, I know you have to push that for today's generation, but with the attention span so short, when you're focusing on that, that's all the kids are going to take away. That's just another Black Power show instead of it being a funny show.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for me. I want more black and brown writers to just write good shows. Abbott Elementary, good show, great show. Black cast for the most part, and the one white guy, he tries to be woke, and that's the running joke with him, is that he tries to like super be an ally. But the show in and of itself doesn't focus on, oh, we some poor Philadelphia school. Like, yeah, we broke. Like, that's the joke. We ain't got the right books. Here, that's the punchline. On to the next thing. Exactly. It doesn't say, oh, Quinta Brunson's character is so broke, or Gregory is. No, this is the school. The school has these issues, but outside of that, I'm well educated. I got all of these guys are college educated.
Right.
So it's like they have interesting stories behind them. And I think that's one thing. If I could like challenge these artists, these writers, bro, go back to just being funny, and the right people will see it. HBO is making a real push to get more black and brown writers on TV. These shows, these like Hulu's and all of that, like Atlanta, it's like, what is Atlanta about? Nobody truly knows, but it does so well in its own shell. And what it does the same thing that what Lil Dicky's doing with Dave. What is Dave really about? It's just a funny show. It's like white people are allowed to just be funny. And I wish more black and brown people felt that they were just allowed to be funny without it having to be an agenda, or without there having to be something super woke behind it. Now, there may be some stuff going on behind the scenes that we simply don't know about, that it is the higher ups like, well, shoot, this ain't got a message for me, or you not popping fried chicken and eating and drinking Kool-Aid every other episode. I don't want it. Then that's a whole nother thing. But like with a show like Southside on HBO, this is literally a show about nothing. Each episode is something completely different from the episode before. It's just, we happen to be on the South Side. So we got Simeon references, Harold's references, all of this different type of stuff
on the South Side.
On the South Side, but that's it. The potholes. Okay, everybody from Chicago can relate to the potholes situation. Right. That's it, though.
You don't want to be by the United Center talking about, yeah, man, because Michael Jordan statue because of Malcolm X and all this. You don't want to hear that shit.
I was trying to hear that, bro. Tell me a joke.
Like,
Tell me a joke.
It's a joke. All right, we get it.
So
be funny. At some point, you got to just be funny. And that's the thing with like Martin, like you said, when like that show, he was bashing white people.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that whole skit when the plumber died and they called the police and it was like, what do you put on a sandwich? And Cole grabbed the phone, he was hot sauce. And they hung up. You see what I'm saying? White Bob. Or Mike from accounting. He was, whoa.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah.
You making fun of white people. They're not gonna let you go crazy, but that's what it was. You know, my wife and kids, they would get their little shots in.
Yeah.
Their friends would get their shots in. Well, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Hey man, when's your next album coming out? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Just like that.
Like, just hang with Mr. Cooper. Like, these are just shows that just star black people. That's ready for. You just gotta make good cinema.
Just like, get the jokes off.
Yeah.
Funny,
yeah. So, and I do think we're starting to see more of a resurgence with that, with people like Quinta Brunson and people in her class that came from internet funny and are starting to make that transition, I think we're gonna start seeing more pushes towards that. So because like even this is one of like a lot of people's biggest pet peeves with King Batch. Once he made the transition to Instagram, everything just started to seem real stereotype heavy. And I grew up on King Batch, so like he always got a certain like level of stature in my eyes, especially as somebody who does stuff on social media. But I understood where they were coming from. It's like all of these other people are starting to make this transition to acting or stand up or whatever else, and it seems like you a little too far behind. You need to start, you gotta lock it in basically. Like it's time to get back right. So yeah, you gotta focus. And so when you see somebody like a DC Young Fly getting hosting roles or getting more and more little movie spots here and there, you're proud of them because we saw the goofy stuff. Yeah, this is me with my roaches in my bed. Like he got videos of him, and now you seeing him grow. You see him go out of his way. If he decides to start writing stuff, you know that he's gonna probably have like his hood comedy stuff, but he's growing as a creator. So as these, like I said, as these more internet comedians start to grow, I think we'll start seeing more of a resurgence. I just want to see it continued. I don't want them to keep going back to the same 4 people who are going to keep writing about the same problems. I'm not trying to hear another sad Tyler Perry story. I don't want to see another Kenyon Barris thing about just me being black with this my light-skinned wife and all of that. No, like let's mix it up. Not saying that these guys are bad writers or not, but like challenge them to mix it up. A lot of them, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You got a whole, like I said, ish cinematic universe at this point. Switch it up. Challenge yourself. So that's all I want is our people to start challenging ourselves more, to not feel like we gotta bend. Either way, whether too woke or too stereotypically.
And just in general, like the genre of like comedy, as far as like TV shows, I know we've talked about it, like just in general, but it just seems like adult humor. Like that seems like to be where it's at now, is like the adult humor and the dry humor. It's like over the top. And it's like they need to kind of ground it. Because like the Velma show, it just seems like over the top. Like there's no way you can't get that show off with less cussing. With I get it, it's an adult Scooby-Doo, but every other word don't gotta be a cuss word. It doesn't have. You're doing it for the shock value.
And that's crazy. That coming from you.
I mean, it's like you understand, but then even at some point, it's like
okay,
like sometimes it's sex jokes, because it's like Martin Lawrence, perfect example. His stand-up, You So Crazy. It's one of the funniest ones I've seen. But like the last 20 minutes, it's like all sex jokes. So you're kind of just like, oh, okay,
all right, bro.
It's like, all right, bro, we get it. Women have periods. We get it. Like, we get it. Like, speed it up a little bit. And it's just like with these adult shows, it's even the Harley Quinn show. I don't know if you ever checked it out, but it's a great idea to focus on a villain, the villain aspect of Batman. But it's just like, who's she having sex with this week? Like, who's she going to blow up this week? What drugs is she going to do this week? And it's just like, you could tone it down. It's like I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. They might curse. What's his face? What's his name?
JB Smooth.
JB Smooth. He might curse 4 times that whole episode, and it's not ridiculous. But it's like I get it. It's like it's an adult show. You can have adult concepts without cussing so much. Like I mean, you do need sometimes to get points across.
Yeah. But
it's like the cartoons, and now it's just all in your face. Every other word. It's like watching Superbad. It's a great movie, but it's like, damn. Like
Jonah Hill got hit.
He got them all. He sure got them all. It was like every other word.
Bro, that whole McLovin
bit,
that McLovin bit is like 3 minets long, and he easily got off like 50.
They was back to back. I'm like, I love the movie, but like, damn, can you?
I'm gonna go watch that again. That was hilarious. That part was hilarious, bro. Oh man. Zoo, you got any final thoughts on that, or like what maybe you hope to see looking forward within cinema from minority writers or writers in general?
No, just good shows. Like we've said it here before. Shows like original shows. We don't have to reboot the same thing and just change their race to Latino or Black or Indian. Like give me a new, like they could have done a Velma show. Scooby's not there. Shaggy's
Yeah.
not Shaggy. They could have just done a show, like the same show, the same script, just change their names, just make it its own thing. Like
Yeah.
obviously, I know they use Velma to
The property.
bring
Yeah.
the original ratings in and whatnot. Because now everybody's gonna be like, oh, it's like a adult Scooby Doo show. I guess we have to watch it. So I know that's why they did it. But like I feel like people would be open to it more if they made it its own thing. And I think even people would have enjoyed it more if it would have been made it its own thing. Even if they would have kept the same. I know you said that people are tired, like the Indian people are tired of like being stereotyped, especially by her. But I feel like maybe they would have been a little bit more open to it if it wasn't Velma. You know what I'm saying? Like if all the eyes weren't on it already, they would have been like, all right, whatever. But then again, we wouldn't be talking about it right now if it wasn't Velma. So I guess they got what they wanted.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's all ratings. So
just show Velma when she's not doing the mystery gang stuff.
Yeah. Let
Like
her be her own
Velma
thing.
going to her regular job, having regular friends, and then at the end of the episode or every couple episodes, hey, the gang's getting back together. We got something to solve. Rather than just like try to mix and mingle the whole thing in there.
Yeah. Because I mean, in the original Scooby Doo, she had a job. She worked at the library, I think.
So like show that.
Yeah.
Show Shaggy and Scooby in there getting high in the back of the library. She got to deal with that.
Yeah.
Or Fred and whatever.
Daphne.
Daphne. They're doing stuff in the library. Have it focused like around that. Like her life outside of the mystery machine.
Yeah. That's actually a really good idea.
I mean,
like you be thinking when you think you think. I'll give you that for sure. Is there anything else before we get up out of here?
No, not really. Just
go ahead, Tim.
Congratulations to Mr. West, the married man.
Talk about it.
So this is like somebody used to work for him. Like what happened?
I don't even know her name, honestly, but she's like a architect, I guess.
Okay.
Architect. She's a studious. College graduated.
How long is this one gonna last, Rico?
I'll give it a year. I'll give it a year. I'll give it a year.
Come on.
I'll give it a year.
I don't know. Chanel, what's her face? She what? But she got a whole month.
No, we talking about marriage. We talking about marriage now. He tied the knot. He put a ring on it.
Man, he don't know nothing about this girl. She married him just for the headlines to follow. That's all she did.
He definitely called her Kim in his pastime on accident.
He still called her Kim.
Yeah, you got it tight.
All right, that's funny. G-Baby, what you have?
No, I was gonna say, just for last week's pod, I didn't bring it up, but what are some things that you would like to leave in 2022? Whether it be conversations, just videos, people, just in general. Like, what do you think we should leave?
Okay, we definitely need to leave the like the mall videos where like you touching somebody girl, and because then if you get clapped up, it's gonna be an issue.
You need to stop pranking people.
You pranks. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. The prank videos need to stop when it's not people within your circle. Prank your mama, your daddy, whatever. It should have, but like a lot of that really needs to be done. I'm tired of 50-50 conversations. You either are or you aren't. Okay, that's between you and your spouse. The world doesn't need to know whether or not you're gonna go 50-50 with your girl. Nobody really cares that much. If you're gonna do it, do it. I haven't really seen high value man or woman since 2022, which I'm very grateful for. I hope that stays exactly where it's at. Yeah, so I hope that all stays exactly where it's at. But definitely pranking videos got to stop. These 50-50 conversations got to stop, because at the end of the day, I think people really think that Twitter is like a direct mirror of real life. So you'll have a tweet go viral about, oh, my husband he owns a hospital, so there is no 50-50. Well, of course, if your husband has that much money, he's probably not asking you to contribute your little secretary job, Sarah. You're able to do whatever you want to do. You feel me? Or vice versa. Or my wife does this, that, and the third. She's a doctor and a professor, so she takes care. Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Robert. She makes a lot of money. She's with you for you. She doesn't care about your money. So nobody cares about you guys is 40, 60 or whatever you want to divide it. Whatever your situation is as a couple, that's what it is. So, like
TikTok
y'all know
advice.
Yes, TikTok advice. Yeah, basically. And so then when somebody says like,
he had a list, he was ready.
Because I'm ranting, I'm sorry. But when somebody when people like, so for example, as of right now, Damson Idris is dating Lori Harvey, right?
Oh,
so he posted a picture. It's really not about them. But he posted a picture of her, I think, on his story, and it was something funny. It was like a Photoshop picture of their head in like African garb, like at a wedding or something like that. And it made its way to Twitter as it always does. Oh, this nigga is such a this and such a that. And then somebody was like, why? Like, since when is it lame to be happy that you're in a relationship? I think it was somebody was like, why are straight people so against showing off your significant other? And it's like, when you think about it, social media is so like warped in such a weird way. You can't brag on your spouse, you can't brag about your job, you can't, people have to. So if you say you ain't had a car in 30 years, you've been grinding away for a car, and the first car you able to get, little 2005, whatever, people always got to put in the caption, oh, it's not enough, but it's what I was able to afford. Nigga, show off your car. Be proud of your accomplishment. But social media got people so warped that you got to put a caveat in front of everything. I was telling, I was at an open mic, and a younger guy, I don't know how much younger he is than me, but he was trying to do a piece, and he kept, oh, well, it's not completely done. And I told him afterwards, I'm like, bro, stop undermining your ability by letting everybody know that it's not done. Because the moment you go up there and say, oh yeah, it's not complete, but this, that, and third, now in my mind, you finna come to me with some half-written garbage. And you lost all the confidence. And what he was saying was fire. And it's like, bro, why would you even do that to yourself? And I told him that, I'm like, bro, stop undermining your ability. Excuse me. And just do your work. But I think I'm done. I need some more.
What you got in the tank?
You needed to let that all out.
Had to drink water after that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, this won't get left, but definitely the clout.
That hit me right.
Won't get left. It's here to stay, but hopefully, like, those videos where people are just recording random shenanigans, recording strangers without their acknowledgement for clout. That one always gets me. Where like the stranger's like 100 feet away and you're recording them for no reason just because they're doing something funny. Two, my biggest one, recording a random girl or a random guy and being Twitter, do your thing, TikTok, do your thing. It's like you're standing 10 feet away from you.
Oh my
just
God. Yeah.
And ask for the number. Or when they're like, oh, I was just met this girl at the mall or at the club or at the airport or wherever, etc., etc. We had a 2-hour long conversation while we waited for our flight, but I forgot to ask for her number. That's your fault at that point. Like, what do you want me to?
You fumbled, my dog.
You had 2 hours.
Yeah. So that needs to stay in 2022 because I'm not helping anybody anymore.
The big one for me is the as a man should you conversation. Those need to get up out of here. I feel like at this point, Michael Jordan, I think all discussions about, I think that needs to go. I think we just need to focus on like the current NBA. Like, because it gets a little repetitive when it's like, oh, how dare you? Okay, we get it. We understand.
You know what? I'll give you credit for that because there's I think Zoo's also in it. The Bulls like Facebook group chat that I'm in, like basically every other post is like a diss on LeBron because Mike did. And it's like, bro, LeBron ain't said nothing about Mike in like 5 years. Like, stop, leave it alone, bro. Like it's I'll give you that. But it won't happen because niggas still bring up Kareem in arguments.
But no, Kareem's about to end this season. Ain't gonna be no more Kareem talk.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. Like until you might be right because
he's all relevant.
Because honestly, nobody really talked about Kareem to begin with until it got like really like, oh, this nigga might actually pass his His all-time. Unless you talking about the Lakers.
The only time you hear Kareem get brought up is to discredit LeBron. If you put LeBron at number one, how about Kareem? He got 6 of them. No, Kareem is out of here. Get out of here, bro. You are done after LeBron skyhooks his way past your shit.
He better skyhook. He
has to skyhook.
Got to. I think somebody did the math, and it was like he's probably gonna pass it in Milwaukee, which is where Kareem was at first before he went to LA.
Yeah, he's gonna do it all over Giannis. Man, that's all he's gonna get 40 points on Giannis.
That's crazy. All time number one, bro.
All time. Last one is the men, also the men gay thing on Twitter. Like apparently, like men, you're gay if you eat Italian beef. If you eat gyros, you're a homosexual. Slice of pizza.
Getting called sassy and zesty and whatnot.
Yeah. Honestly, that's another one. If a man, because my thing is, like, everybody is so pro LGBTQ until somebody does something you don't like. Now it's, oh, well, he must be gay if he's this, that, and the third. It's like, no, where was that support you just had 12 posts ago about the community? And now all of a sudden, because you upset at me because I may have called you out on something, oh, it's real gay for you to have an opinion on me. Wait a minute.
I think it's sassy a man uses Spotify. Get an iTunes.
Niggas, oh man, nah, yeah. So that's a big one. That's actually a really good one. That's a good one to close out on. Stop weaponizing the alphabet community when it's convenient to you.
To a single person, like at this instance. Like,
no, stop doing that.
Choose your battles.
Fire Nation, let us know what needs to get left in 2022. Let us know some of your societal pet peeves. Let us know some stuff about maybe minority writers that you want to see either start or stop happening. All right, let us know. We thank y'all for tuning in to yet another exhilarating installment of the Friendly Fire Podcast. You have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to comment about the conversations we had today, you can at us at friendly_fire on IG or friendly fire on TikTok. Once again, friendly_fire on IG and friendly fire on TikTok. Artists, send your artwork, your MP3s to friendlyfire2021@gmail.com. Once again, friendlyfire2021@gmail.com. If it's music and we like it, it goes on at the end of our podcast. If it's artwork and we like it, it goes on that big, blue, beautiful wall behind G-Baby. As simple as that. On behalf of my brothers, I am Rico, G-Baby, Zoo, Friendly Fire. Be blessed.
Peace.
Bye, Rihanna.